Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I'm the founder of Higher Power Coaching and Consulting. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole: Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. On this podcast, I share my experience, strength, and hope from recovery. I don't support or endorse any particular 12-step recovery fellowship, and I don't claim to speak for any of them either. My hope is that you will find my words helpful in some way, whether you're in recovery or not. This is episode 104. How fear and telling the truth can lead you to wholeness. Last week, I went back and listened to episode 67 of my podcast, Why We Say the Truth Shall Set You Free, because I wanted to hear what it said, and it was really helpful, which is kind of funny because I said it. But I do go back to my podcast episodes from time to time and listen to them, and I find them helpful because it's hard to remember everything I've learned in recovery all at the same time. It's kind of like the experience I'm sure many of you had with your recovery literature, where you read something that you've underlined and have notes in, so you know damn well you've read it before, but you read it and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've never heard of that before. Anyway, the reason that I went back to that particular episode, Why We Say the Truth Shall Set You Free, is that I had an experience having to do with telling the truth, and I needed some help with that. Briefly, that episode talks about how we're set free when we tell the truth only if we didn't used to tell the truth, or if we've been withholding the truth. Those who have always told the truth don't understand that freedom because they've always had it. So here was my situation. I was having a feeling of holding on to something, like I was a pressure cooker. Tension was building and I didn't know what the fuck it was until it came through my journaling. The thing that was causing the pressure was that I was afraid that people were going to find out the truth about something, which I will tell you about shortly. I don't want to tell you yet because the actual truth is not anywhere near as important as me telling the truth, at least in this instance. As I started thinking about telling the truth, I realized I had much more of a fear of telling the truth than fear of people finding out what that truth actually was. I'm glad I waited a week to talk about this because I got even more clarity this week by waiting. I now understand that I was more afraid of letting people know that I didn't want to tell the truth about something than I was them finding out the information I wanted to withhold. Now, when I look at my history as somebody who grew up in a dysfunctional family and who has a history of addiction, compulsion, obsession, and mental health problems, then it makes total sense why telling the truth is so fucking scary, because withholding information was a tool that I used for most of my life. But here's the thing. I didn't even really know I was doing that. I thought that I was an honest person when I got into recovery. It was only through the process of recovery that I found out, nope, not true. I definitely outright lied about stuff sometimes, but my main form of dishonesty was withholding information, or what I call managing information. And it primarily had to do with trying to construct an image that I wanted people to think of me, whether it was that I was nice or kind or helpful or smart or whatever, knowledgeable, generous. It was because I cared more what other people thought of me than what I did. And that meant I was willing to be dishonest, which is another way of saying I had a lack of integrity. I was willing to throw my integrity out the window so that other people would like me. Well, folks, I am not willing to do that anymore. So that means when this situation came up, that telling the truth was imperative. For me, to maintain my recovery, my bottom line is honesty. If I cannot be honest about something, then I know I'm going to have a relapse. And I just don't want that. As I've said, as I've heard many other people say, my worst days in recovery are way better than my best days before recovery. So whatever price I have to pay for telling the truth, it is goddamn worth it. To have my integrity, to be whole, and to be able to live with myself. So here it is. The truth that I didn't want people to know is that up until now, nobody has paid to be part of my Better Boundaries with Barb group coaching program. The only person in the program so far got there because they won a scholarship. Now, I know with 100% certainty that the program will be filled, and I will run it with just the right people at just the right time. But this idea that I shouldn't let people know that nobody had yet signed up is crazy to me. Except that it's not, given my history of dishonesty. My withholding information is like a well-worn groove that is so easy to slip into. But this is the truth. This is what's happening. There's so much about all this that's really interesting to me. I didn't even know that this was the thing that I was afraid of. I could just feel the pressure in my body. And I had to do some journaling to get at this thing. The pressure was that I was trying to push down or cover up the truth, to keep other people from finding out that nobody had yet signed up for this program. Now, when I was messaging my coach about this, one of the things I said to her was, I'm fine with saying there are 11 spots left. Somehow that's okay with me. But to say up until now, no one has signed up just didn't feel comfortable. It made me want to feel like I wanted to fucking hurl, to be honest with you. For me and my recovery, all of that information about the coaching program pales in comparison to what I've learned about myself in terms of telling the truth. The idea of telling the truth made me feel like I was going to fucking die, and it was really painful. And this whole realization that I didn't want to tell the truth was really painful too. I'm reminded of when I first got into recovery. I did the 12 steps with 3 other women, and we were all pretty new in the program. And we did it that way because in my area, there were no sponsors available. Oh, wait, side note, today, which is April 18th, is my 6th anniversary in that program. Yay, me. Okay, so anyway, step group. When we started doing new behaviors, whether it was telling the truth or setting a boundary or taking time for ourselves or whatever it was, we would say to each other, I did the thing and I didn't die. And we joke about not dying, but we really needed to keep saying, and I didn't die, because we honestly felt like we were going to die from doing the new behavior. And it was important for us psychologically to reinforce for ourselves that we didn't die from doing the new thing. So I get it, especially if you're a newcomer, and the idea of changing your behavior, of doing new things like being honest and open with people and letting them know who you really are. It's really scary. But guess what? You're not going to die, even if it feels like you're going to die. And the reward when it comes to telling the truth is that you respect yourself. You've shown up for yourself. You've told the truth. You've become closer to God. My deceased brother Pat said to me one time, if you don't want to know the truth, then you don't want to know God, because God is truth. So if you can't tell the truth, you can't get close to God. So that's why I say when you tell the truth, you get closer to God. So I challenge you, dear listener, if there's something you've been withholding from someone, even if it's yourself you've been withholding from. Tell the truth. It will set you free. I first told the truth about all that stuff about my coaching program to my coach. And I told her at that same time, I will be posting about this on social media. Then I told my sweetheart, and then I posted it. Later that evening, I had a call with a sponsee who said, I'm having a problem with fear. How do you deal with that? And I laughed and I was like, of all the days for you to ask me that very specific question, this is the day. So here we go. Higher power at work again. So I told him that story and he was really grateful because it helped him to realize that he was trying to massage the truth in his situation where he was fearful, and that the truth is the truth. If you tell the truth, then you don't have to be afraid of people finding out. After that call, I had another outreach call with someone who's pretty new to the program, and I shared this whole story with her. And it turns out that she was very moved and got some healing of her own from this conversation. So look at that. I told the truth. I didn't die. In fact, it reinforced my wholeness, my integrity. Remember, things that have integrity are whole. They don't have cracks in them. And I was able to contribute to the healing of the people I shared the story with. How crazy is that? I was afraid, and fear led me to the truth, which led me to my own healing and then the healing of others. So again, dear listener, if you're withholding something, whatever just popped in your head, that's the thing. Tell it. Tell the truth. It will lead to your wholeness. I promise you. I don't promise you a painless journey, but I do promise you wholeness. If you're not already following me on Instagram and Facebook, please do that at Higher Power Coaching. You can look back at my posts from last week to see what I shared. That's it for today, friends, and some of you strangers. Remember, it is never too late to start over. It's never too late to recover. Healing is possible for everyone, and no one is beyond hope. Talk to you next week. That's it for today. Please share this episode with anyone who might find it helpful. If you like what you've heard here, you might be interested in private coaching with me. If that sounds like you, then head on over to barbchat.net, or you can get on my calendar for a free 20-minute consultation to help you make lasting changes in your life, like I've made deep, lasting changes in my life. My ideal client is someone who is ripe for change, but I'll coach anyone who wants to be happy, joyous, and free. So if that's you, then go to barbchat.net and get on my calendar. I'd love to chat with you. Please like and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast outlet. This helps other people find me. Thanks for listening.